What's up, guys? It's Chris. Welcome back. Yeah. So, did some crunching on the keyboard last night, and I got some more fucking shit transferred over from that to Facebook. All right. So the parts or the engine block list has been updated for two groups. One, the bigger group, the B series, that was completely absent before, is now there. I don't have any NA B series shit set up yet. It's all turbo stuff, but that's really what people are looking for. To be honest, if you're looking to make power NA, I'm not going to suggest B series anymore, man, because you're going to spend a lot more money to make 200 horsepower on a B series than you would make fucking damn near 300 on a fucking K series. So anyway, it's not like B series has been commonly asked for. So for NA builds, I've only done like 2 ever. So yeah. Anyway, that's just there if you go check out. Also, the other smaller group is just like 2 engines that are in that category, or 2 or 3 in my little moon block series. Those are the engines that will make 1,000 horsepower. Now, the details real quick on that. Those are CSS blocks. They're not sleeve blocks. But the more advanced O-ring CSS block goes for 800 horsepower, and on top of that, they've been proven to up to 1,000 anyway. So you can still use the CSS to go for that kind of power, or you can get sleeves. But right now, I don't have all the pricing in, as a set number for sleeving. I'd have to talk to my machine shop, see how much they charge to do that shit, and then I have to find a company, which would most likely be Darton, that has the sleeves I could order to do that. So right now, I'm just not offering it because I don't think anybody's coming to me for that kind of build right now. So it's just easier to list as a CSS block, but they are rated for 1,000 horsepower. So speaking of CSS, that's what this video is mainly going to be about, right? So a lot of times I thought, I have to have this part already in stock. I have to have my hands on it first before I can provide it to you guys. And that's not really the case. Now, I do have a lot of core blocks already laying around, but most of those are K-series, K20 that are in various shape of mess right now that I will sort out soon. So every time that somebody asks for a B series build, every time somebody asks for a K series build or whatnot, I have to go out and get it. So what's the difference if whether I have it in hand or not? I think in the end of the day, what really separates people from wanting to do these extra things is just going through the hassle of shipping. I don't even really like to do it. I was just talking to a friend last night, and I was saying I wish I had a fucking secretary, a bitch boy, essentially, that could run out and do things like, hey, I need this, the order just came in for this head or this block. I need you to go on Facebook, haggle to my prices, go out and pick up the block, bring it to me. When it's finished being built, I need you to wrap it up, take it to FedEx, get it shipped. Because that's the part that I don't like about the engine building the most. It's running around getting the shit, which is why I have to add that in and factor that in as for labor costs, man, because it is laborious. I have to go out and find the shit, haggle with people who want like max dollar on everything they own, and all that shit. So same thing can be said for the CSS blocks, right? Now, if you're one of those simple-minded people who are looking at the price of my CSS block and you're like, well, what the fuck, bro? Because it costs $350 to do CSS. Well, you're not looking at it properly, right? You're not just paying for the price of CSS unless you're sending me a block. Now, if you're sending me a block, go. Sorry. So unless you're sending me a block that's yours, that you've already paid for and you're giving to me, I have to count for that. So you're still got to pay the core fee for the block itself. And then, that's $350 for the K and for the B, right? So you got to pay the core cost, and then I have to ship it out to CSS and have it shipped from there to you, which is roughly around $100. It's generally speaking around $50 to ship a block. Yeah, so if it's any more than that, I guess I'll just take the L on it. So for the 700 horsepower, or for the 700 horsepower rated B series and the 800 horsepower K series, those are both the entry level for those, or for the basic level CSS. The blocks will cost you $800. That's $800 to say, Chris, I want a CSS block B18. Chris, I want a CSS block K20, K24. Now I'm like, got you. I will go out, get you the block, clean and prep the block, send the block to Jeff over at CNC Works. He'll do the CSS, and then from there he'll send it to you. Now, the only thing I can't guarantee is the turnaround time, because I know it's there's a list. I mean, there's a line of people that are waiting, and it took me about a month to get mine sent out and brought back when I did mine. So I guess a month would be about the expected turnaround time. Now, the one thing that's different between when I had my CSS block and what I'm offering you guys is that I had mine like the full machine work. I got my shit was decked and overboard, right? So a part of the waiting process for me was also waiting for my pistons to come from California to get to Jeff so he could do the bore over with the pistons in hand. Now, the reason why I don't offer you the overboard fucking engine and fresh machine work is, well, twofold. One, I don't call for decking a block unless the block is warped. Before I send the block out, I will check the clearances on the deck surface to see whether or not it needs to be decked. Now, if it doesn't need to be decked, then I'm going to send it out and not recommend that you do that, because that's money that you don't necessarily need to spend. Now, if it does need to be decked, of course, we got to get to the point where it's like, hey, dude, this needs to be done. Do you want to add this in? Or do I need to get another engine block and put that one on the side? I'm not worried about taking an L on that, because I will get that block sold. Whether it's to you or somebody else, it's going to sell. So, and then the other thing is the overbore, right? My biggest hurdle when I was like, hey, I want to stock CSS engines. And I still want to have a couple for me here ready to go. But my biggest problem was like, you need to accurately bore over an engine. You need the piston that you're going to use for that engine in hand. So that way you can properly get your piston wall clearance, right? To get it as accurate as possible. Now, can you just bore to 81 millimeter? Yeah, but that, like I said, when it comes down to piston to wall, you really need the piston in hand that you're going to use if you want it to be as close to as possible, right? So I was like, well, what am I going to do to get around that? I was like, well, that's easy. I just do the fucking standard. I just do the CSS, and I just don't have it bored over. And then I have a stock bore CSS. And then you can either use a stock bore CSS, or I take once I get the pistons, once the pistons are ordered, I take it to the machine shop down the street for me, and we have the bore over done. So that's gonna be the same thing for you guys. It doesn't include the standard. It comes with a standard bore and doesn't include the overbore, because so that way it eliminates you needing to buy pistons and send in. So that way, like if you're trying to itemize your build and you want to do one thing at a time, and you're ready to do the block, but you don't have the pistons yet, then you don't have to worry about it. So you're coming to me, and I will get you your block, and I will have it sent out to you. So that way you are directly ordering one from me, and then I'll have it sent to you. Now, I don't know how much Jeff charges for his. Like, you can contact CNC Works and talk to Jeff directly. I'm pretty sure that he has cores. I don't know how many cores he has, or if he has them in stock or whatnot, or what he has. But if you're wanting to go through me, who I'm definitely accessible, easy to access. I mean, you're definitely get a hold of me right away. As long as you don't say, hey, I got a question. Just answer your fucking question. If I see something like, hey, Chris, I want a CSS block, I'm like, oh, I got you. Then I'll answer you right away. But those people who constantly DM with questions like, hey, I got a question. Well, you just wasted your question, because I'm not fucking paying attention to that. I don't have time to be asking or giving you permission to ask whatever the fuck you want to ask. And I'm not going to be drugged into some fucking conversation that I'm not ready to have yet. So tell me what you want, and then when I got time, I'll get to you. So there's that. The basic CSS is rated for 700 horsepower. They're proven to do more. And it's $800 for those blocks. If you want to go with the high horsepower CSS, it is $1,100. Now, the reason why the price jump is so big, even though if you go to Cylinder Support System and you check their website, it's $100, not even $100. I think it's $350 for the basic CSS, and then it's $420 for the high horsepower one. But Jeff highly recommends to O-ring that block, right? The super high powered engines typically tend to be O-ring, right? And that's help for head gasket sealing, right? So if you're going to do the O-ring, I think the O-ring process costs $200, and it requires the block to be decked. And the decking process is like $75 or something like that. So if you think about it, the decking process is actually a lot cheaper with Jeff than it is with here, because I think locally they charge like $125 to deck the block, compared to Jeff is only charging $75 if I do remember correctly, and I think I am, right? So when you're buying the upgraded CSS, I'm not even going to be like, do you want to do it or not? It's just, yeah, it's going to be a thing. I would imagine that if you're wanting to pay to go with a more advanced CSS and you want to push more horsepower, I'm just going to assume that that's what you're aiming for, is big power. And I'm going to just tell Jeff to deck it and fucking O-ring it, right? So that's why you get the discrepancy on price. I think that even with the 800 horsepower, with decked and O-ringed being an $1,100 block, I still want to say that you're coming in cheaper than you would be if you're getting aftermarket sleeves. Just because of the fact that I looked at the process, or I looked at the sleeves for like Darton sleeves are like $650 something around that price. Excuse me, on eBay, and I don't know how much the price of it is to put the sleeves in the block, but I would imagine it's a pretty expensive process. So if you're looking at it around I would say probably like $1,000 just to, get the sleeves and have them installed, and then you still got to get a block. So the sleeving is still going to be more expensive. And this is me doing conservative estimates, because I have thought that machine work was going to be in a certain range before and turned out to be a lot more expensive. So I'm guessing maybe $300 some to insert sleeves, but it might be a lot more. Probably is a lot more money than that, considering the fact that my local machine shop charges like they charge, well, it's $150 just to overbore. So how much are we talking about to just completely remove the cylinders and install new ones? Anyway, spitballing here. But that's the CSS block. So I will be providing CSS blocks to you if you want. If you want to go through me for CSS, I will do that. I will get you the block. I will prep the block, inspect it, and send it out. And also, you have the upgraded list for the new engine stuff. I still haven't put the itemized case by case. I think that for you guys watching that have been watching me for a long term by now, I think that you guys realize that I'm not trying to sell a fucked up engine. So if I rate the engine for a certain amount of horsepower, you're good. It's a safe bet that is the power that it'll make. So I'm not gonna. It makes no sense for me to try and sell something to somebody that might get fucked up, that might come back and complain. I'm not a super popular person, but I am a largely public figure, and I do not want to deal with negative feedback. So especially if it comes from a person who's like not a dick. Like, there's people out there who are just stupid and complain and bitch about everything, but I would never want to get to the point where I'm fucking over somebody who's actually an intelligent person, right? So if I say it makes 600 fucking horsepower, it'll make 600 horsepower. If I say it makes 7, it'll make 7. If I say it'll make 1,000, it should make 1,000 horsepower, right? So when you're worried about the price of the cost of individual parts, you really shouldn't be looking at that, especially if you're not an engine builder, right? Especially if you don't really know the differences. So just trust the fact that you're going to get it. Now, I'm not saying that I'm not going to release itemized lists, because that's going to happen. But judging for how long it has taken me so far just to write everything that I have in the way that I have, for me to go and do this shit case by case for as many engine blocks as I have that are on the list and heads, it's going to be a while. So I don't have a website. So what I do is I have my Facebook shop. If you click on my shop link in Facebook, when you go to the VHP Engines Facebook page, you will see shop at the top. Now, if you click that, I think there's like 3 or 4 different pictures on there, and it has, you click the link, and it tells you how many is in stock, shows you pictures, it has a detailed description at the bottom. So what I'm eventually going to do is I'm going to make one for every engine block that I have to list that I will be providing a build for. All my little copy paste already ready. You don't have to worry about getting parts thing for me. List, and then it'll tell you, I'll have a detailed description of the block, what expectations out of it, and then it'll have a list of all the parts that you can use, and it'll also have for some of them, it'll also have you have the ability to upgrade. Now, the problem is, because I don't have a website, I don't, once I set the price in the shop, it is what it is. I don't really expect anybody to be buying my shit through Facebook shop right now. I would expect that you're going to contact me, and we're going to discuss it, and then we're going to do a PayPal transaction or a Cash App or whatnot from there. But, the whole thing is for having those itemized listed sellings on Facebook, is that way you can go and you can see the details of everything that's being used. But it's all legit shit, It's just off rip, I can tell you for the most part, it's not like a big mix up of different parts I'm using. I tried to make things as easy and streamlined for me, so that way I have a go-to set. I don't have to worry about jumping from place to place. So scat rods are being used a lot, nip and racing pistons, and I think you'll know when and where. And then Tron pistons for the forged shit. And then for like the big horsepower, we're talking about Wiseco boost line for the K and Manley Turbo Tusk for the B. So if you're wondering, like, you know, am I willing to use other parts and shit? Yeah, for sure. If you want to send me parts or you want to buy and have shipped to me, you're more than welcome to do that. For the most part, I don't think that I really charged any markup on the parts of the engine. Now, I did for the K-swap kit, but I did not for these engines that I'm itemizing, right? So if you want to buy and ship things to me, it's no problem. But this just makes it easier because most people that come to me ask me, like, what do I need? So, like, I don't have to go every single time and build a new list for every individual person that comes through. I already went through, I looked at all the price options, I looked at all the power ratings, and then I matched it up there where it's most convenient, right? So if you feel the need and want and desire to buy your own parts for whatever reason you think maybe I'm just not trustworthy or whatnot, then by all means you can do so. My labor rates are already fixed. You will, I'm going to get what I'm going to get regardless. Nothing changes for me because I'm not getting any markup on these parts. So if you guys are thinking I'm going to hold back from letting Chris buy parts because he may be charging me upcharge, I'm not. I'm not charging you upcharge for engine prices. The only thing that you're getting any kind of tax on is the block, because I am charging more for the core because, again, that factors into labor. Now, the reason why I changed my prices and fixed my prices for the core prices the way I have is like this. Have I bought engines for like $100, $80, $50? Yes. Do I buy it like that all the time? Mostly. It's not 100% consistent when I'm buying on Facebook Market. If I have to buy on Facebook Market or Facebook groups, I have to haggle for the prices. Now, let's say you come to me and I tell you, don't worry, bro, I can get you a block for like $50, $80. Now, what happens if I can't? What happens if I've only got one guy who has it currently and he's being stubborn and I really need the fucking block? I can't just wait him out like I normally would. I'm just like, oh, whatever, I'll wait and he'll come down, or he won't, and I'll get somebody else. If you're ordering now and you're ready to go right now, I need to guarantee that I can get that block. So when I charge you $350 for that block, you know, that's not just that block itself. It's also the crankshaft. And I need to be able to guarantee I can get that. I need to be able to guarantee that I can get a block and get a crank. Now, also, if I'm buying a healthy block and it happens to be a long block or an assembled short block, that means I got to take it apart and find out if the crank I have is a dud or not. So let's say I take it apart and the crank's a dud. I got ducked on, you know, it passed my little outside checks but didn't pass the inside checks. Now I got to go get a crank. That potentially runs $80 to $100 if I have to buy a crank separately. So let's say I paid $100 for the block and now I have to pay $100 for the crank. We're at $200 now, and I charge you $350 for the core, right? So if that's the scenario, then you gotta think about my time that I'm spending looking for these fucking parts and going to them. And sometimes these drives are like an hour away. That's something to consider too. So now we're considering my fucking fuel and the time in between going and picking these things up. And then at the end of the day, I still got to take everything to you to ship. So if you think $350 is an expensive core for a B18, it really isn't, because there's a lot of work involved in getting you that core. Now with the K24, it's a little bit better off because, you know, I'm getting them from the junkyard, and there's a better chance that, well, I wouldn't say necessarily a better chance, and even then I might be taking a chance on that crankshaft not being good. So again, I'm paying the price for this shit and having it, it's the K24 is easier because there's a guaranteed place I can go. I know that when I go there and ask for it, it's going to be there. It's just like, how long is it going to take this guy to get the engine out of the car for me, right? So, yeah, that's just a little explanation, a little bit of transparency, guys. I still think that my charging overall is the best you're going to get, and at least when I mark up the core a little bit, I potentially stand to make a little bit of extra money there. And when you consider the fact that my engine building labor is as cheap as it is, it's nice for me to make a little bit of come up too. And I still think that my prices for my engine blocks are astronomically cheaper on the low end side. If you go to most people's website, even if you're looking for a 500 horsepower block, you're still going to spend a fuck ton of money compared to me, where you can come and get a 500 horsepower block for right around $1,000. So depending on which engine you're picking and which package version, all that shit. All right, guys. So this video kind of ran a lot longer than I thought it would. Yeah, I got some more stuff to come, so I'm gonna get ready to post this one and hit y'all back up here very soon. Thank you guys for watching. Social media links are in the description below for you to find: Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, all that shit, and also Patreon. Patreon is becoming a super big, important focus for me. I really want to grow this. This could be helpful for me and helpful for you guys for me stocking extra parts at the beginning of the month or whatnot. So right now, I think we're up to 5 patrons. If you join Patreon, even if you only join for $1 a month, you get a 10% discount from all my parts if you just want to buy parts from me, and you get a 10% discount off of engine builds if you're hitting me up. So thanks guys for watching, and peace.